Hello, Pastor Deborah here once again, and we're here to learn. I'm here to teach, you're here to listen. We're going to go back into time, back through archaeology and our ancient of days of humanity, to help us learn about us, ourselves, and what is going on in the world today, here on the planet, and how it all began. We're picking up in the playlist called Spiritual Babylon, which is a sub-playlist of the Kingdom of Darkness, which is teaching us about the kingdom. This Spiritual Babylon episodes is teaching us how on earth the earthly land, Spiritual Babylon, became a reality, and a kingdom on earth, both through nature, in cities, in nations, in culture, in traditions, in religion, and in humanity's soul and spirit itself. We have been learning about our ancient beginnings. One thing you'll learn about Pastor Deborah is she loves history and truth. She studies all the way back. I study many different topics. I read many different books. I look at many different documentaries. I look up words in the dictionary. I look up words in the Strong Concordance for Greek and Hebrew. I study ancient Greek, Egyptian. I study the Romans. I study Western civilization. I study American Indians. I study the Vikings. How about them? Early Russia and China. Did you know that at one time there were no continents? The whole land mass on Earth was one. It was called Pangea, and over eons of time it slowly split apart, and that's the Earth we have today. Did you know that? Have you ever studied? I was a scuba diver. I saw ancient things under the sea and animals. I learned what's below the surface. I was a cave diver into ancient caves. Yeah. I've dove off into the oceans. I've dove shipwrecks, airplanes, caves. I've looked into the walls of caves and seen fossilized seashells. I'm an explorer, both in the natural, not so much anymore, but in books, videos, and documentaries. I watched a wonderful thing called Time Team, I think that's it, from England, when they had a team of people digging up Roman villas in Britain, trying to understand how the Romans came into Britain. That's right. I've studied the Vikings. I've studied Russia, ancient China, the Huns, the Mongols. I've studied how Australia used to be a penal colony for Britain. I've studied Africa. I've studied its history of slavery. Do you know that many of the kings of Africa sold their own people to the white Westerners for money? I study culture, tradition, religion. I study the biological brain. I study its injuries, its wounds. I study abuse, trauma. I study human trafficking, slavery, drugs. I study. Do you? So we're going to pick up here in episode number 4 of Spiritual Babylon. The kingdom on earth, spiritually, in humanity, in our soul and spirit. So let's begin. In our last episode, we were talking about Nimrod, who was the first king of Babylon. The story goes that after the great flood, which is another history lesson to learn, God told Noah and his children, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, to go out and spread over all the earth. But they didn't. They all stayed together out of fear of animals in the wilderness being eaten by lions and tigers and bears. And they settled in a land called Shinar. And one guy out of the root of Ham, out of his son Cain, who had been cursed by his own grandfather for something he did not do. And who was that? Nimrod. Nimrod rose up and said, let's build us a city, and let's build us a great tower so we can reach into the heavens. And I'll be your king and I'll protect you. Then let's build walls around our cities so we'll be safe from all the wild animals. So it began. I'm going to give you a little bit of what we concluded with in the last episode. So inside of our human dirt body, our soul, through the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life, began controlling us, guiding us, speaking to us, and even from our spirit. Our spirit and soul had been married, had become one, but the spirit part of us had lost its light, its knowledge and truth of another realm, and it sunk deep down into the soul and was controlled by, married with, intimate with its own soul. And the soul had become the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. So Satan had created his own children, sort of speaking. They were now his. They were no longer the God of creation. They lost the light of creation and light. They were no longer a life-giving spirit, but dead spirits unto the kingdom of heaven. They now had the heart of Satan. Pride, greed, lust, anger, jealousy, and that is what ruled us in our ancient days. So Satan began to spiritually guide all of humanity through our soul and our spirit, which was now in darkness, who now were the children he made from his image and likeness, from his own heart. And that's where we're going to pick up here in number 4. We're going to learn what the heart of Satan was, so you can understand humanity even now today. When you see certain things, you will see the heart of Satan, the mind of Satan, the desires and lust and the actions of Satan through humanity and even through nature. One of his 5 I wills was rebellion against all known truths and righteousness. He began to be perverse. That means twisted in his thoughts and beliefs and concepts. His 5 I wills was that he would rule above the God of the kingdom that he originally was created in as Lucifer. He would rise above the clouds, he said, and he would be above all and he would serve no one. That is most of humanity's thoughts and ideas right there. Satan said he would have on earth the exact thing that God wanted, a kingdom, children, to control the earth, nature, the wind, the weather, everything. Well, God lost it because he lost us in the garden when our ancestor Adam disobeyed and ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So Satan knew the pattern. He said, use humanity's spirit and soul and physical body, because we're a 3-part being, control nature, build a kingdom, and then rule over it. Well, Satan got humanity because of the fall. Satan would have the earth, nature, the oil, the gold, the pearls, everything, through the slavery of humanity, through their ignorance of their spirit and their soul. Man, humanity, was now spiritually ignorant, both in his spirit and his soul, about God's love and God's kingdom for them. They had inklings of it. They knew they were to have some towers to pray in, that God was up. God was in everything. He was in all nature. They were to pray to God, to be blessed. They would Somehow all of humanity knew about sin and hell, disobedience, but it was all twisted and perverted. And so man himself became anti-God of the kingdom of heaven. Man lost their knowledge, their relationship, and they knew nothing of the heart and mind of the God of creation's desires for them. They had inklings. A lot of people say it, to be the boss, to own a company, to be the head, to be a ruler, a minister. But it's all twisted and perverted. Humanity lost what their purpose really was, a righteous one, and they became unrighteous. They forgot who they really were and what they had lost in the garden. Nimrod became Satan's chosen one from the generational line of Canaan, the cursed son of Ham, the grandson of Noah, of the great flood. Have you studied the flood? Have you studied the curse of Canaan and how that came about? It was when Noah planted a vineyard, got drunk, we believe, and was naked in his tent, and Ham came in, that's one of his biological sons, saw him, got embarrassed, went out and told his two brothers, and they backed up. They went in with a blanket backwards and covered their dad, Noah. And when Noah woke up, he saw a light set by his side, and he recognized it as Ham's. But Noah could not curse Ham for seeing him in his drunkenness and nakedness, because God had already blessed him. So Noah cursed his son, Cain. And that's another whole teaching about the curses that Noah, a grandfather, spoke over his own grandson that went and is still going on today. So Nimrod was a spiritually chosen one of Satan because of the curse of Canaan, to build, to rule, and to reign Babylon. The word Babylon actually means confusion. Yeah. The great city, the first kingdom and king on earth of the kingdom of darkness. From out of this beginning, the kingdom of darkness was birthed in all of humanity. And then, once it was in every human's heart and mind and spirit to build a kingdom, build a city, build walls, have a king, they would take that with them wherever they went. A city, this kingdom, it would need more than just a tall tower reaching up to heaven, a high place above the clouds. This kingdom needed a family. For Satan knew that the kingdom of heaven's pattern was to have humanity as one family. All would be kings. They would also eventually learn that they were to be a God themselves, a life-giving spirit. And Satan knew that God wanted Adam to have a wife and a child. And they were all to be one family. And they were the chosen ones. And they were to praise and worship and pray to. They were to create music and song and be joyful. So Satan had Nimrod develop a family. And we're going to pick up there in the next episode. And you have to study families of darkness. Intermarriage, royalty. You have to study the interworkings of marriage, culture, tradition, families, rulership, kings, to get an idea. Now, it's perverted through Satan, but the pattern was correct. The family of God would rule as kings spiritually from Genesis 1:26 through 28 on earth in and through the biological body, through the soul, from the spirit. And they would reign and rule the earth and nature for the kingdom of heaven in the unseen world. So that the seen world, the physical and the nature, would learn and be ruled by the kingdom of heaven and its laws and righteousness. That was the pattern. We'll pick up next week or next time in the next episode of Spiritual Babylon. You study history. Love it. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.